Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3775 AM. Today's date is November 16th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Blue States Are Collapsing. Trump's tariff system is powering the failed central bank economy. Hey, you know what's interesting? While everyone was watching the headlines, the Trump administration just quietly released a document that could reshape the mining sector. This is real, and it's happening right now under Executive Order 14241. This isn't just about mining. It's a national security imperative. In an official report to the White House, the administration just named the Palmer Project in Alaska as a key asset of America's mineral independence. Vizsla Copper has acquired that project. We're talking an estimated $3.5 billion in ground value containing the very copper, zinc, and silver vital for our military and energy grid. This is a government-backed move to fast-track domestic production and puts Vizsla trading in the U.S. under ticker VCUFF at the center of the action. And that's just the beginning for Vizsla Copper. They're led by the same team that propelled Vizsla Silver to $1 billion valuation. With the Palmer acquisition announced less than 48 hours ago, this could mark the start of something monumental. They have the team, the assets, and now the explicit backing of a U.S. administration prioritizing national security. We've seen this happen recently when other Alaska miners like Triology Metals and Nova Minerals got government backing. Their shares shot up over 200%. The Palmer Project was just named in the government report, and the market hasn't priced it in yet. Vizsla Copper trades in the U.S. under the ticker VCUFF and in Canada as VCU.V. They're definitely worth a closer look. Huge thanks to Vizsla Copper for making today's video possible. Check the link in the description below for more information. Just go to vizslacopper.com or click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You can see that now as Trump is continually building the economic system, building this new tariff system, which is competing with the central bank system. Remember, the central bank system is a failure. It's a dud. And eventually what happens is the entire central bank system completely implodes on itself, and they have to actually have some type of war or distraction, and they need to start it again. And you can see at this point in time, without the tariff system right now, the economy would be in a deep recession, probably a depression at this point in time. And I do believe this is why Biden came out when Trump won the election saying, I'm handing off a incredible economy. Here you go, Trump, because they never expected Trump, his team, to work so quickly to build the tariff system and have the tariff system basically support the failing central bank system. Because remember, the central bank from the very, very beginning, what they wanted was the entire economic system to collapse. That was their entire plan from the very, very beginning. It doesn't matter if Trump was in office, not in office. That was their plan. Trump countered their plan, and now it's completely and utterly falling apart right in front of their eyes. And now they're trying to think of other ways of how they can actually blame it all on Trump, just like they did back in 2020, and how they can bring the economic system down. But I think every time they try, they're going to fail. And I think Trump's tariff system, once he gets the ruling from the Supreme Court, at that point, I really think it's game over for all of them. Because once they have that ruling, they can never say, oh, the president doesn't have the power to use the tariffs. And we can see that if they don't have that power to take it away from the president then can move forward with the plan. Now, even if the Supreme Court says, okay, we're going to push this down to a lower court, or they don't want to really rule on it today, or whatever they're going to do, or how long they're going to take, Trump has other methods of actually using tariffs because there are other cases that other presidents have used. So no matter which way we look at it, I don't believe the deep state, the central bankers, are going to win in this instance. But you can see when you start to look at the economic system across the country, you can see that there are many, many blue states. They are now starting to collapse, and many different areas where they were getting federal funding like there was no tomorrow. Now they actually have to budget, and you can see they can't do that because you have to remember a lot of these systems that they've been running are money laundering systems, and they need a constant inflow of currency. And when that constant inflow of currency actually ceases, what happens? They run into major problems, and then they have to turn to the people of those areas and say, we need more money from you. It's almost like Ma'am Danny in New York saying, listen, you want free stuff? Send me some money. And we could see this pretty much out in the blue states right now and the blue cities. You could see they're starting to collapse. And I think in the very, very beginning, going all the way back, we knew there was going to be a separation between the blue states and the red states. You're going to see the red states where they're not following the Green New scam. They're not laundering money, maybe not as much as the D's, but there's still a lot of corruption in the red states. You are going to see a very, very big difference. And I do believe that's exactly what you're seeing right now. And the people out in Chicago, they're getting angrier and angrier. I think what you're going to have as time goes on, and they're not getting the federal funds. They don't have USAID. They don't have the NGOs to pass along all these funds. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. And of course, the cost goes what? To the people, and the people have to start to pay, either in higher state taxes or city taxes, or higher sales taxes, or higher property taxes. And this is what the people in Chicago are seeing right now. The Wall Street Apes put this out and said, tonight, Chicago residents are having a property tax bonfire after they received their new property tax bills that have increased significantly. Some residents reporting their bills have increased $977 from last year. Democrats, again, increased property taxes due to budget shortfalls. Residents complain of rising assessments. They say despite property tax increases, there's no notable improvements being made on their city. And I think we, the people, have been seeing this for a very long time. We pay more and more and more. And what do we see? We don't see improvements in infrastructure. We don't see improvements in service. We don't see improvements anywhere. And this is what happens when you run a central bank system, which is a criminal syndicate system. And not just the central bank system, but when you have money laundering and people can't really balance a budget and funds are going out to other things, what happens? The entire economic system starts to implode. And I do believe this is what people are starting to see now, and they're starting to realize, what are we getting for all of this? Absolutely nothing. Yes, this has been going on for quite a while, but now we're at the point where, wait a minute, this is going up quite a bit. There's something wrong here. Because usually when you pay more, you get additional services, you get better service, but when you're just paying more to fund their money laundering operation, well, there's a major, major problem. And you can see all those states where they continually increase the tax on fuel and place regulations. They were trying to go with the Green New scam. You could see all the blue states, they have higher gas prices. Secretary Doug Burgum put this out and said, gas prices are highest in blue states, pushing radical green energy policies, while red states, with an all-of-the-above approach, are keeping costs low. Gas should be affordable for every American, and that starts with energy addition, not transition. And showed some of the fuel prices. When you look at the blue states like Illinois, New York, you're at $3.26. In New York, $3.14. Of course, California, $4.67. Oregon, $3.79. And when you look at Texas, $2.65. Oklahoma, $2.53. Louisiana, $2.66. Missouri, $2.62. Arkansas, $2.64. South Dakota, $2.83. North Dakota, $2.83. You could see the difference. And this is going to continually separate as time goes on. And I do believe what's going to happen is the economic structure of these blue states, of these blue cities, they're going to go the opposite way of the red states. And people are going to start to see a very, very big difference. And you have to remember, bringing in the illegals to this country did not help this country. When you really step back and you really take a look at this country, you could see from the very, very beginning, once we came off the gold standard, and yes, we can go all the way back to 1913 when they introduced the central bank, and then when we became the reserve currency right after World War II. But if we just start from 1971, when we came off the gold standard, this is when the value of the currency declined rapidly. This is when people started to realize, hey, look at this. Something's going on here. My wages are going up. My fixed mortgage is the same. I feel a little bit better. Because this is what happens in the beginning of a central bank system. But as time goes on, the central bank system breaks down. And as it breaks down, what do you have to do? You have to move companies, manufacturers out of this country. Why? You need much, much cheaper labor. What do you have to do within this country, with those industries that you can't ship overseas? You have to bring in cheaper labor. And when you have cheaper labor and you're supporting the cheaper labor via the government or via the local governments like in the state and the city, you provide housing, you provide health benefits. This increases the price of housing and health insurance costs and everything else. And this has been going on for quite a while. Rapper Response 47 put this out and explains, and this is coming from VP JD Vance, and it says a lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. Why is that? Because we've flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who are taking houses that ought, by right, go to American citizens. What we're doing is trying to make it easier to build houses. We're also getting all of those illegal aliens out of the country. Then he followed up with this. The Biden admin let tens of millions of illegals into this country, dramatically inflating housing costs. They left a series of disasters in their wake, but high prices were foremost among them. President Trump and I working overtime to clean up the mess they left behind. And yes, as you deport these people, as they come off of the health insurance, as those houses become free, they're freed up, and apartment buildings and other things, all of a sudden there's empty space where Americans can actually go ahead and live. You're going to see the prices come way, way down. And you could see that they were bringing all these illegals in to support their main agenda. And I think the people now of this country, and not just this country, but Europe, they're really starting to see, wow, it really takes a toll on the economy and pushes prices way, way up. It's almost like Obamacare. When they said it's the Affordable Care Act, it's not affordable. It's unaffordable. And that's actually what Trump says. And we've known this for a very long time because, again, they were in line with the insurance companies and they just basically drove the prices higher and higher and higher. That's what the central bank does. Their system does not work for the people. The system actually hurts the everyday person, because what happens is, as the value of the currency declines, the items that you purchase, they haven't changed. Actually, production, manufacturing, delivery, all has gotten cheaper. What's changed is the value of the currency. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned is that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember, the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit x22gold.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's x22gold.com. Don't leave your future to chance, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. And as it loses value, you need more of those little pieces of paper to pay for those same items. Yes, I know people use digital blips, but let's just use the pieces of paper. And what happens is you need more and more and more because, again, it's losing value. So when it loses value, people go, holy crap, prices are going up. No, prices aren't really going up. It takes a lot more of those pieces of paper to buy the same item. Actually, the cost of production and the cost of delivery has gone way, way down, especially with robotics. So basically, this is why we're seeing the high prices. Now, Trump, he's going to mitigate this as best he possibly can. Remember, to get rid of the inflation, yes, he can lower energy quite a bit. Yes, he can reduce what it costs to produce items or ship them into this country. He could do all of these things, but the accumulation of the devaluing of the currency really doesn't go away until you actually pay back the debt. And this is why when you hear like, oh, the dollar lost 97, 98% of its value, that's what that means. The value's gone. That's why we can't pay for a penny anymore, because the money's worth nothing. And it just gets worse and worse as time goes on. But you can see Trump right now, he is now dropping the tariffs on dozens of food items, including beef, tomato, coffee, bananas, coconut, nuts, avocado, pineapples. And are we going to see costs come down a little bit from that? Absolutely. By a lot? I don't think so. As of right now, what we're seeing, I think Trump is trying to bring in items from countries like El Salvador, from Argentina, and many of these other countries, weaning us off of other countries and trying to revitalize the food industry in this country, because that's really what needs to be done. Remember, over a very, very long period of time, the deep state players, they've been gutting this country. We don't have enough talent to work in the technological field, in the manufacturing, production. And this is why Trump is bringing in talent from other countries. Just like when this country was founded, we brought in talent from other countries, woodworkers, carpenters, those people that work with metal, those people that knew how to farm. We brought these people in to build America. Yes, we didn't have enough people in here, but we didn't bring in people with no talent. That's what Trump is doing. He understands that we have a big population now, but he also understands that we don't have the talent to do what needs to be done to build this country up because, again, the deep state players, they've been gutting this country for a very long time. We'll be discussing a little bit more about this a little bit later, but Trump, he put this out in regards to inflation. He says cost and inflation were far higher under the sleepy Joe Biden administration than they are now. In fact, costs under the Trump administration are tumbling down, helped greatly by gasoline and energy. And affordability is a lie when used by the Dems. It is a complete con job. Thanksgiving costs are 25% lower this year than last. Under Crooked Joe, we are a party of affordability. And he's absolutely right. Because think about it. Trump, he stopped the inflation from going up. It's around 2% or so. So that's normally where the Fed really wants it. And as energy prices go way, way, way down, what happens? Prices go way, way down. And that's what people are seeing right now. And Trump, he's trying to push wages up. And it looks like wages are going up because this is how you counter everything the central bank has been doing for a very long period of time. Plus, the D's wanted the entire economic system to collapse on itself. But again, Trump has a machine that is countering everything the deep state, the central bankers have been trying to do. And in regards to wages, NEC Director Kevin Hassett explains how the purchasing power has come back to the people. And I do believe we're going to see a lot more of it. He says purchasing power dropped by about 3,000 under Joe Biden because the wages didn't keep up with the prices. Under POTUS, it's already gone up about 1,200. We understand that people still feel the pain of the high prices, but we're closing the gap fast. And think about it. When people start to get the refunds in 2026, people are going to feel a little bit of relief. But I think as time goes on and he really starts to bring the energy prices down and we start to manufacturing here, removing all the regulations and everything like that, and the factories are being built, and you're able to purchase the items in this country, the items in this country are going to be cheaper because energy is cheaper. So you could produce, you could deliver for a cheaper price. And I do believe that's exactly what he's doing. And in regards to the H-1B visas, Ford, the CEO of Ford, actually admits that we really don't have the talent in this country because you have to remember, they were pushing colleges. They created these incredible amount of majors that are meaningless just to get the money from the federal government. And it wasn't really teaching our young children a thing. But Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, says that he cannot fill 5,000 mechanic jobs, even though they pay $120,000 per year. We don't have enough young people in the country who are learning skills such as working with tools or how to do things like be an auto mechanic. Meanwhile, we have a surplus of people in college who are going into massive debt, wasting their time on useless topics like gender studies, women's studies, and various social justice topics. And once again, we truly do not have the talent in this country. I'm not saying people aren't talented, but they didn't major or they didn't go to vocational schools to learn these talents. Because again, what was the deep state, the central bankers trying to do? They were trying to keep the American people down. It was done on purpose. And this is what Trump has been saying. Listen, he wants to make America great. I think we all do. But if we're going to get there, we can't bring the manufacturers into this country and say, okay, let's start manufacturing. Wait a minute. Does anyone know how to do anything here? You don't? What's your major? Oh, gender fluid, whatever. Oh, yours is women's studies. Oh, yours is social justice. Well, what can you do? Not much. So do we need to bring in certain individuals that can actually teach the American people on how to do things? This is what plumbers, electricians, and many other different vocational type of industry jobs do. They bring in an apprentice and they say, okay, you're going to shadow me. We're going to go on jobs. I'm going to teach you these things. Now, they might have some schooling in the beginning. Some people don't. And you're going to shadow me and you're going to learn. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of what's going on and how to do certain things because I have experience. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'm going to teach you. This is what's happening now. Do we need workers from other countries? Absolutely. Are they going to stay here forever? No. Eventually what's going to happen, just like, let's see, the deep state players did to the American workers, slowly but surely you start replacing them with American workers as they come up to speed. And then 5, 10 years down the line, all of a sudden we have all Americans working in these jobs. And this is how it's done. Basically, the central bank did it the opposite way. They moved the companies out of this country, and all the American workers who knew what to do weren't here. They flew some of them over to the other countries, and guess what they did? They taught the people over there. Sometimes they brought the American people over, and they kept them for a very short period of time until those individuals in the other countries learned how to do what they needed to do, and then they were replaced, and they paid them a lot less. Same thing's going to happen here, but the opposite way. And Trump, he's making deals all over the place. And he just made a deal with Switzerland. Joe Lange put this out and said, art of the deal. The United States and Switzerland have reached a trade deal under which Swiss imports to America will be subject to a reduced 15% duty. U.S. Trade Representative Jason Greer said that on November 14th that the administration had essentially reached a deal with the Swiss government after months of negotiations in the context of President Trump's reset of U.S. trade ties with the rest of the world. Under the Trump administration trade policy, Swiss goods were hit with a 39% tariff, one of the highest rates imposed on any country and substantially higher than 15% applied to European Union member states. The new agreement, which lowers Switzerland's levy to match that of the EU countries, includes measures that support Trump's goal of reindustrializing the United States quickly after decades of offshoring. Switzerland is at the heart of the Rothschilds banking empire, a history of banking secrecy laws that help dictators, crooks, and corrupt politicians hide their stolen wealth. Neutral during the world wars, and they help fund both sides. They have had every advantage possible under the fiat debt system. Trump changed all of that. Secrecy laws no longer protect tax dodgers in Switzerland. And now Trump is going to put a permanent 15% tariff on Switzerland, along with a lot of other countries, in order to grow the sovereign wealth fund. The American taxpayers have been robbed for generations, and Trump is now making all these countries and corporations pay back the American people. And look what Trump is making Switzerland pay for. In a statement offering further details on the agreement, Switzerland's State Secretariat for Economic Affairs said that the country would reduce its import duties on a range of U.S. products. These include all industrial products, fish and seafood, as well as American agricultural products, and that are considered non-sensitive. Swiss companies have also agreed to invest $200 billion in the United States by the end of 2028, partly in initiatives meant to boost vocational training. Trump is bringing back vocational training just in time for the massive construction boom, and he's making Switzerland pay for it. Boom. Winning. Now you understand what he's doing. And you can see it's becoming clearer and clearer every single day. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, from doom to boom, and this is coming from Real Clear Politics, how Trump's tariffs are powering the U.S. economy commentary. And this is the part that he highlighted. 6 months ago, critics warned that Trump's tariffs would crush the economy. They said Americans would face soaring prices and crashing markets. The reality, as we near the end of 2025, the story looks very different. Growth is up, markets are strong, and strategic onshore opportunities are emerging. Let's break it down. Tariffs are boosting revenue. Rather than dragging the economy down, tariffs have become a colossal source of revenue. Tariff collection hit a $100 billion in the first half of fiscal year 2025, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection expects that figure to eclipse $300 billion by the end of the year. That money is helping real Americans, supporting military families, and making sure our service members receive their paychecks on time during the government shutdown. And yes, what Trump also did with the entire tariff system, he is competing with the central bank. He created a parallel economic system that is powering the failed central bank economy. This way, the economy doesn't implode, and he can keep everything operational until he starts weaning us off the central bank. And what I mean by that is, as we bring in revenue, do we need to borrow the currency from the central bank? We could borrow less and less and less because we're bringing in revenue. Before that system, there was no revenue. We had to borrow the currency. And as we bring in the revenue, it doesn't add to inflation because it's not new currency. It's already existing currency. So what happens? He's bringing all the money that was shifted out of this country back to this country, and it's funding government operations. It's helping people. He's giving a dividend, and we don't have to borrow that much from the central bank. And he can use it also to pay off the debt. He can also use the gold card. He can also use the energy sales. He can also use the technology sales. He can also use the stable coins. Yes, I know cryptocurrency has taken has declined. It's dropped. But again, we've seen this before. And I do believe what's going to happen is you're going to start to see it start to move once again. And I do believe that you're going to see this go way over 120,000. That's my personal opinion. I do believe this is going to skyrocket because, again, the central bank system is collapsing. And every day that passes, it gets worse and worse for the central bank system. And what happens is Trump's system gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And think about it. The U.S. dollar is one of the strongest currencies of the past 100 years. Yet, it has lost 97% of its purchasing power since 1913. So when people say, Bitcoin, it's done for, it's already down to $96,000, $97,000. Well, look at the dollar. It has lost 97 to 98% of its power. Bitcoin has not lost 97 to 98% of its power. It's only gone up. Yes, it might dip down. The dollar also shot up, but also dips way, way down. And now it's at a point where it's not even worth anything. So when you look at gold, when you look at Bitcoin, and you look at everything else, I do believe, yes, powers that be, they do not want these currencies moving up. But I do believe in the end, with everything the central bank has been trying to do, you're going to see these currencies start to skyrocket. And yes, there's going to be forces here and there that's going to try to keep them from going up. They have been doing this for a very long time. Because if you see these currencies, especially gold, and silver, start to skyrocket, people start to say, what's going on here? Why is gold at 8,000? Why is gold at 10,000? Why is silver at 200? Why is silver at 500? People start to say, so what's going on here? Does that mean the currency's worth absolutely nothing? And I think in the end, that's what people are going to realize. But along the way, what Trump is going to do, he's going to continually wean us off the central bank system. And we're going to not borrow as much. And I think eventually what he's going to do, and he's already started, as you can see, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. I do believe he will take this to the next level as his system becomes more and more powerful, where he's going to say, okay, no income tax, maybe for $50,000 or less, or maybe $100,000 or less. And I do believe he'll be able to say, listen, we can fund the part that we need, where we used to take the internal revenue. We can now fund the government and certain aspects of the system with the external revenue. And I think once that buying power comes back to the people, this is when people are going to start to realize his system is actually working. And as time goes on and people see more and more of this, they're going to realize we're heading in the right direction. And I do believe Trump and the Patriots have set this all up for the year 2026. Yes, it's going to go beyond that, but this is where it really begins. He already laid down the foundation. He already put all the pieces in place. And he is just sitting back going, you know something? Get ready, because this economy is going to take off and people are going to be absolutely shocked. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.